Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Less Worse podcast. My name is Akil.
I'm Jerry.
And today we're going to be talking about scary movies.
Spooky.
Yeah. I mean, Halloween is right about the corner, about like...
It's May.
Months from now. Long house. No, but, all right. Do you listen to... Do you watch a lot of, like... Do you watch any, like, horror movies?
I saw one recently that I really liked.
Is it not, like... Which one was it?
I think it's called Hush.
Oh.
Have you seen that?
No. I heard the name.
Okay, so it's a movie about this deaf woman who has a home intruder. And I really don't want to go into it any more than that because I think that you should go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Okay. Is it a modern one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a independent film, 2014.
Okay.
No, 2016 maybe. I don't know. Very recent.
Like, all right, have you watched like a lot of horror movies?
I only recently saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the original one, and I only recently saw like Alien. But Predator wasn't a horror movie, but I also saw that recently. In case you're curious.
So like, I'm trying to figure out if, do you think a lot of horror movies now are like kind of like whack?
Like too gratuitous? Because
Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that like they'll overuse violence or jump scares or stuff like that, and they won't really delve into like the psychological
Like,
side of things.
it's like all jump scares.
It'll be cheap. It won't
yeah.
be. Like it would be like if you almost bumped into somebody in an Albertsons, that kind of scare. Like, oh shit, sorry.
Basically, it's just like every one of them is just like, now it's just like, here's the gimmick of just like what horror it is.
Yeah.
Whether it be like ghosts or paranormal activity, or just like when, what is it, The Purge first started, just like Murder Day.
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
Happy Murder Day.
Yeah, they'll have the gimmick, and then everyone's just like, oh man, in the movie they're just like, oh man, Murder Day sucks, or just like Ghost kind of suck, I hope there's no ghost here.
Yeah.
And then like for 2 hours it's just like that's like stuff jumping out at them.
Yeah.
And then The Purge, right. And then The Purge is either just like, oh no, it's just like someone you were grouped up with anyway jumping out at you.
Yeah.
But like there hasn't been anything scary because we don't know how to set like an atmosphere.
Yeah.
So we just need like we need you to all run around in this room and bump into each other.
I know that like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was scary to me. I don't know, having seen it in 2016 like I did just a couple months ago, I can't really say what it would have been like to like just go off of the title because I'd heard too much about it from you, from family, from pop culture at large to really go into it fresh like someone back in the 70s 80s would have.
I think it was like 76 or something.
So to me it was like
74, 76.
To me it was like I don't know the exact plot of the movie. I don't know the characters. I don't know who dies. All I know is the general premise. I've seen some remakes. I've seen references. I've had conversations about it. I just don't know the movie. But still, the anticipation of like almost knowing how it's going to happen, but not knowing exactly how it's going to happen was enough to keep me on edge, which means it was a very good movie. Like it holds up very, very well. And it doesn't even look that old. It's just a little grainy, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the difference between like horror movies then and horror movies now. Now Hush was a good one because it was all about intensity and it set an atmosphere and you literally didn't know how it was going to end. In fact, it like jumped you back and forth between like, oh, it's going to be great or oh, it's going to be bad at the end. So many times that you almost became numb to it.
Right.
Until it looked so close that like something was definitely going to happen and then it didn't. And so it brought you across the threshold further and further toward catharsis, that you started to become numb to crossing the threshold, but it would still be exciting, which is weird. It's a really confusing feeling, but like it was a good movie. It was a really, really good movie. And yeah, a lot of scary movies today don't rely on that. A lot of scary games don't rely on that. Like Five Nights at Freddy's is literally just a jump scare.
Yeah, it's jump scare the game.
It's a good game. Like I kind of like it, and it was an original idea, but And honestly, the first one at least is the only one I've played. It's pretty fun. The gameplay is actually pretty solid. It's very simple, but it takes a little bit of thinking ahead and strategy and expectation, and it's tense enough because you don't want to get fucking yelled at.
Right.
It's tense enough that, you know, it takes a little bit extra concentration to do it. And when you fail and you're that concentrated, a jump scare can get you pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, when movies do that, you're not having to do anything. That's why I don't think it works in movies. Because you're not having to do anything. You're not really concentrating. Like, it can be an intense situation, and you can be on the edge of your seat, but you're not in it. It's not an interactive situation. So when a jump scare happens, you'll be like, whoa! And then you realize, oh, that didn't happen to me.
I think for when, like...
You know?
I think that's what makes The Exorcist so great.
I have not seen that.
And
I do know, again, that's an old enough movie. I know the premise, but
yeah, I think it's more so just like, this isn't, because some people are deeply religious, or they're religious enough to where like they acknowledge that like, oh, there's hell, like demons and stuff.
Oh, there's hell.
Yeah. So like, I think it capitalized on just like so many people who just were raised in the church and just like they had all this stuff just told to them. To where, like, what if one day it just all goes tits up?
Yeah,
you know?
That reminds me of Rosemary's Baby, which I saw recently as well. That was interesting because... spoilers for Rosemary's Baby. If you haven't seen it, it's all right. It's very old, and the scare is, what if your baby was the devil's baby, and what if your neighbors were Satanists? That's it. That's the whole scare. That's the big reveal at the end. That's the big terror. What if your baby had red eyes? Like, that's it. That's it. That's the whole premise. That's the whole scare. So that to me, as someone who is non-Christian, just doesn't. I'm not particularly religious. Like, that didn't scare me because I was like, I mean, what if they were Satanists? Like,
right.
What if I had a devil baby? That would certainly, steer me in the right direction religiously. But I don't. It just doesn't. Until then, it doesn't hold up to me. It doesn't make any damn sense. But yeah, my favorite type of horror is like non-supernatural, like The Ring and stuff like that. Or is that the one where like it's the videotape and stuff like that? And yeah, The Ring. Or I don't know, like just monster horror doesn't get me. I like visceral, like real, like Hush. It's about a home intruder. It's about as fucking real as it gets, and this dude's just fucking killing for fun. So it's pretty like tense. You don't know why he's doing it. I don't think he's doing it for any kind of reason. But stuff like that. 28 Days Later and stuff like that, like zombie flicks, those are alright because it's not like supernatural. Evil Dead is good because it's supernatural and because it's also a comedy. But what's your favorite horror movie or scary movie?
Like a toss up between John Carpenter's like the Thing.
Is that the one with Kurt Russell in it? Yeah.
Or like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Those are two good ones.
Just because like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is what it is and how cheaply they made it.
Yeah.
And how it's just like an iconic movie.
Yeah.
That's what it's just like. I have this like respect for it. And plus it's just like it's an unsettling movie. It's just like we were on a road trip and now we're just in this house with all these crazy cannibalistic just weird people.
Yeah.
And like I think that's interesting. And then John Carpenter's The Thing, it's very claustrophobic. There's like a alien here that can not shapeshift, but like take over our body and then infects other people, and you don't know who you can trust.
Is that one that had like a chest burster thing?
Yeah.
I know Alien did,
yeah.
but
well,
did it
yeah,
as well?
well, they went to get like the defibrillator to like restart this dude's heart or whatever.
Yeah.
Then the chest opened up and bit a dude's arms off.
That's right. Yeah, I remembered something about that, but yeah, no, it literally like changes your body from the inside out, which I thought was fucking wild. I saw that too. I think on your recommendation. It was a very good movie. I think my favorite scary movie is probably Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which means there's not a whole lot of discussion to go on here, but that's okay. Let me ask you this instead then. What is your least favorite scary movie that you have seen, that you've watched from start to finish and been like, wow, that's trash?
I think like 8213 Gacy House was really bad.
What's that?
It's like these ghost hunters go and like ghost hunt John Wayne Gacy's house. You know, the serial killer?
Yeah, the clown guy.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's so cheap and bad. It's not like cheap and great like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Shit.
It's just like, there's like a scene. It's fuzzy because I only watched it once and was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
So like, I saw it a long time ago. I'm trying to recall. I think just like, it goes around the house just like molesting and sodomizing people.
What?
Like the ghost of
Like
John
the ghost
Wayne
of John
Gacy.
Wayne Gacy?
And it's just like, this is
What in the fuck?
so ridiculous. It's just like, it wasn't scary because it's like, oh, really? Just like, this is...
That's not... Yeah, that... I think mine, if you're curious, is Thanksgiving, which is about this this turkey that on Thanksgiving goes out and massacres a bunch of kids. It's basically like Jason or a Freddy movie or a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but instead of a movie monster, it's a turkey. I think it's mostly supposed to be a comedy, but it definitely had some like jump scares in it. It opens up with a nun or some like 1800s like village lady or like, you know, small town lady running away. She looks like a pilgrim, I guess. Which I guess is the idea. It's a Thanksgiving movie. She's running away. That's not 1800s, 1600s. Anyway, she's running away. No shirt on or shirt open. I can't remember. I didn't really pay too much attention
to hook in 12-year-old boys.
Yeah. Well, she's running away topless, and the camera is facing her, so you can. It's full frontal. And then the turkey comes out of nowhere. She like falls or something. Turkey comes out of nowhere, and he's just like, "Nice tits, bitch," and he kills her. And that's the opening to the movie. It truly is garbage.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a horror movie, even though like it's rumored that it was to start out being a horror movie.
What?
The Garbage Pail Kids. Have you heard of it?
What is that?
It's the worst movie I've ever seen. It started out. Are you familiar with the trading cards? There's this thing back in the 80s called the Garbage Pail Kids, where imagine just like, you know how some people just collect Pokemon cards, they don't play it?
Yeah.
This is just the collection part. It's like baseball cards, but just with like the grossest imagery on it.
Okay.
Where it's just like, so they got, it was, all right. Okay. You know the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
Imagine if they were just like on meth.
Okay.
And just like shitty.
Done.
Yeah. It was like that, but like a trading card game.
Okay.
So Hollywood was just like, so, all right, obviously we got to make a movie about these
totally
dumb things.
So they sold really well then.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess, well, neither of us were there.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it sold well enough to where they justified making a movie.
Yeah.
So, like, it was, I heard originally it was going to be just, like, a horror movie where, like, the cards came to life or something, or, like, and they just started murdering people. But, like, they turned it into a kid's movie. And it's, like, it's so bad, the puppets aren't, like, done. And it's,
That's
like...
amazing.
It's just like one of those movies where it's just like, again, just how you said Thanksgiving, it's so bad to where it's like 8213 Gacy. What I hated the most about it was just I hated it. It's just like that kind of feeling. Is that what Thanksgiving was to you?
I don't really remember so let me just be totally honest. A bunch of my friends turned it on like Netflix on their Xbox, and I was playing on like in the same room on a different thing. I guess I was playing like a GameCube or something. We had a couple different TVs because there was like 5 fucking kids in that house pretty regularly. So we all had different stuff to do. I was doing that, and they were watching that, and I was like, wow, that looks like garbage. I'm gonna keep playing my game. But I saw most of it. Like I would occasionally like not pay any attention to it or go to the bathroom or grab a snack or whatever. But for a good 2 hours, that's what was going on next to me, and I saw most of it, and it was just truly fucking terrible.
Is there any like horror movie that like affected you? Like you saw it and you were like afraid of something?
Hush made me lock my door more. Like pay attention to locking my door. And then man, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. Hannibal, did not make me afraid of serial killers or anything like that. And actually it was a TV series, come to think of it. But which is good, by the way. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. But or the first 2 seasons are. I haven't finished it, even though it's 2017. It's been canceled for like 3 years. But whatever. Anyway, so there's a character in there who gets cancer, and she fights it, and she ends up trying to kill herself, and Hannibal ironically saves her, and like he literally flips a coin or something like that to decide whether or not he's gonna save her, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna let her die. And so he saves her, and she's just like, I wanted to die, I didn't want to die of cancer. And then she died of cancer, which was a much slower, you got to see her like character degenerate, which was depressing, and it literally gave me death anxiety. So like I didn't have it before I watched her arc, and now I'm scared to death of death. It is the worst shit. So if you're asking like, did anything affect me psychologically, that's probably the one that did it the most. But obviously there were movies when I was a kid that like I would like read scary. Actually, let's not just talk about scary movies. Let's talk about fucking scary shit.
Yeah.
So, do you remember that book? You remember that book that was called "Scary Stories"?
The one with like the crazy ass drawings.
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That was fucking terrifying. And that shit. Sometimes, like, I'll see that like people reference that, and I'll read the stories and whatever, and it'll still kind of get me. Meanwhile, and I hope they make that a movie eventually, because if anything deserves a fucking movie, that would probably do it. Like just a series, like kind of like there's been a couple compilation movies I've seen, but I can't remember a title of one. But if it was just a compilation of short stories, even made by like different directors for each one, and they just throw it all together and then release that shit to go into theaters for like 2 weeks,
I think it'd be cool if it was like some kind of like Twilight Zone thing, if they do it on like Netflix or something.
Absolutely.
That'd be dope.
Absolutely. But so stuff like that, or when I was 5, you remember Talipo?
Fuck.
It basically, some dude eats like shoots something and chops off its tail and eats it, and then it's like, I want my Talipo. It's like,
oh, like it wanted its Talipo back. Or
it
something?
wanted its tail back, and that freaked me out a little bit as a kid, mainly because of how my teachers read it, because they read it like a scary story. This is back before you needed permission slips to teach children about evolution. So teachers could get away with pretty much putting on their curriculum whatever the fuck they wanted to. The only thing they needed permission slips for was like, can your child eat peanuts, and can your child go to the zoo?
Right.
Yeah. So actually, you know what? That first one, that didn't happen until I was in 4th grade, and people would just like, teachers would just fucking bring snacks to class and be like, y'all want some?
Yeah.
You do good on this test and you get a snack. And nobody died, so that was great. But anyway, I'm not saying that it's wrong that we have to. I don't mean to sound like a belligerent old person who's just
get
like,
rid of all of
it's
these.
stupid as fuck that we have to sign permission slips to give kids snacks. That's a great thing, because it means Billy, who's allergic to peanuts, doesn't have to die on a Tuesday, in the middle of class. Because if I want to die, I want to do it somewhere cool. I don't want to be in my fucking 2nd grade classroom.
Your teacher brought some Nutter Butters.
Yeah, and now Timmy's
now I gotta die.
Yeah, I gotta die now. Back to my point. Like, my teachers got away with reading that shit, and they read it about as scary as they could, because they don't have to deal with us crying in the middle of the night. They have to deal with us crying during the day, and that it's not gonna happen now. Who gives a fuck?
Right.
There was also one time I went over to a friend's house for a birthday party. And the dad, we were all camping in the backyard, and the dad was telling campfire stories, which was really cool. he did something of a jump scare to me. Like he's telling about this spirit, because there were like crickets. It was like some sort of like spirit cricket thing. Like just sometimes if you listen closely, you'll hear her get you or something, and you're like, and he like not jumped, but like he like leaned over and grabbed my shoulder. I wept bitterly. I've never been like a super brave kid when it comes to stories, and as an adult, like scary movies still give me a little bit of anxiety whenever they're realistic enough. Because when you're a kid, you know, you don't have an idea for what realism is. Your world is what people are telling you.
Right.
Now I have experience. I know, like, hey, you know, it may freak you out to see, you know, something bust out of somebody's chest, but what you really need to be worried about is that cancer.
Yeah.
So I haven't not had anything lately except for like Hannibal, really freaked me out, but I have had myriad things freak me out throughout my life.
You know, they like changed the drawings in the book.
Yeah, I heard about that, and that bummed me the fuck out.
They said they were
like that's the scary shit.
Yeah.
That's
it's in a book called Scary Stories.
Yeah, if your kid picks it up and he's like, "Oh, Mom, this was too scary," you've got a bigger problem that's even scarier. He can't read.
You think of it like if they like called it Scary Stories and Pictures.
That you should
Scary Stories to read it in the dark and Scary Pictures to look at with your flashlight.
Yeah, in the daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, okay. So what have you had any that like really shaped or affected you for any amount of time? Especially long term.
I can't think of a time where I was just like this thing where like I was just like afraid.
Fuck you for making me open up to you like that and then having nothing to return.
I tried to change the subject with the drawings, but it
didn't work.
Yeah. It's just like
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, like, death anxiety sucks. It's just like knowing.
Don't
like,
try and copy my shit. How dare you?
No.
All right. Well, okay. So what kind of horror do you go for? Like, why do you watch horror? Because I know you like scary movies. You like scary stories. You like that kind of thing. What is it? Because I said I don't like shit that can't actually happen. I like it just fine. It's weird. I guess I don't have enough problems in my life. So I like when something really fucks with me like that so that I can feel that anxiety. So if it's not realistic enough, my stupid ass adult brain will be like, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And it won't actually scare me. I like getting scared by movies and shit like that. So why are you into it?
I like the movie part of like the filmmaking, and I also like the story.
Like cinematography and things like that.
Yeah. Also just the story. I can just, through suspension of disbelief, I can watch something like The Thing or like The Exorcist and be like, all right, even though odds of this really happening probably slim to none.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then it's just like, oh, but this is a good movie.
Yeah.
To where like if this was happening to a group of people, seeing how they react to it and like just the mistakes they make, because they're from their perspective, they're dealing with it.
Yeah. It's not so much that it's a realistic situation as much as it is an interesting one.
Because like The Thing, like why I really like The Thing is just like, here's this thing, like it can take over whatever. Trying my hardest to say here's this thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you don't know.
Here's the thing.
Yeah. It's just like
it's alien monster.
You don't know who it can be posing as.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's them trying to read people where it's just like, is he human?
Yeah.
And then like you as like the audience just trying to figure it out. And then the characters in the movie are just like more high stress than you.
Yeah.
Because the most you can feel is just like, I bet. Like you get wound up.
Yeah, because you don't know either.
Yeah, but you're not that person dealing with like, this thing can just kill me right now.
Yeah.
So like you get to play like detective, but then whenever you guess wrong, it's just like, oh, I was wrong.
I would have been dead.
Yeah. Also, my favorite character just got killed by it, and it drives home that like, it's this, like I said, this claustrophobic place. No one's safe.
Yeah.
And it's just like I like high stress situations where it's just like, I like impending doom.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Just
Me too.
like I really like the suspense part of it. I guess. Yeah.
So I know. Okay, so if I could ask, then I'll have you open up a different way. What scares you then? If not stuff like this, what like is there a certain type of medium that really makes your skin crawl or anything like that?
There's things where like I'll just go like, wow, that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
But like not like scared. It's like maybe not scared in a sense, but just like, oh shit, I'm scared, like frightened, whatever.
Yeah.
It's more so just like, Jesus Christ. Like whenever I like reading about just like fucked up news stories.
Yeah.
Where like someone will do like top 10 fucked up things to happen throughout history.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I like articles like that too.
and
Actually,
it's what scares me is just like there's people like that out there.
yeah.
And it's just like that's scary.
Yeah. So that reminds me of that reminds me of how like I would, and I still do this, and sometimes I read the same articles again, but I'll go on like Wikipedia, and I'll be like, okay, who's the serial killer with the highest body count? And I'll go and I'll read about that person, because the higher it sounds fucked up, and I'm not just I'm kind of just doing it for my entertainment, you know, which is kind of really fucked up. But point is, I'll go on there and I'll read about like, okay, who's the serial killer who's done like the worst shit, and then the more bad things they've done, the more there will be to read, which is why I go, because it's just like I just want something that'll, like, it's just a wall of text. I want something to read to keep me occupied, because that's the whole reason I watch, you know, movies, play games in the first place. Is I'm trying to distract myself from the sluggish passage of time I'm experiencing right now. So I'll read about stuff like that, like, you know, I'll read about like foreign serial killers. I'll read about like lesser known serial killers or very well known serial killers who, you know, were just prolific and stuff like that. And so I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Sometimes I'll read about, you know, natural disasters or like man-made disasters, like the Hindenburg, Titanic, shit like that. Yeah. And I'll read about stuff like that, because I'm just like, this is real life. Like this shit actually happened. Yeah. Because that gets my goat more than anything that Hollywood could ever put out, or any indie filmmaker could ever put out. Like there's some very good indie horror films. There's some very good AAA horror films. They're much more not so good, but you can't argue the realism and grittiness of like real life. Yeah. There's no competing with it. So I wish that those articles didn't exist, obviously. I wish that these people had never lived their lives like that, and I wish that those things had not happened. But they did, and I can't change that. But what I can do is I can learn about the shit. And it's that I'm not going to pretend like that there's any like value to that for me or anybody else. But it's just interesting to me. Yeah. You know,
it's just like it's
literally a morbid interest.
Curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that's what scares me, when it's just like
real shit.
Like one time someone went out jogging and then someone got them.
I go jogging. Oh my god.
And just like they never came back. Their family just never saw them again. And it's just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Also like jail. I'm
scares you?
afraid of going to jail.
Yeah. I'm scared of not having enough money for food, and I'm scared of going to jail.
Yeah, I don't want to go to jail.
I don't either. But yeah, no, I mean, that's why I like series like Hannibal or things like reading those kinds of Wikipedia articles, or like delving deeper into that kind of thing. What I don't like is gore.
Yeah.
Like cuz it's just gratuitous. It's too much.
Yeah, it's just like gore in a movie, so I'm more tolerable of. But like if someone makes like a real life gore thread, I can't fuck around. Like,
okay. Well, what I was saying is like if someone makes a movie with like an extra amount of gore, like it's just like more than would actually even
be, that it makes it uninteresting. They're trying. It comes off as trying too hard. Like it's like if something else scary happens in that movie, I'll be like, okay, whatever, because it's like the guy who's been trying to tell a funny joke for 2 hours straight hasn't said a goddamn funny word.
I think,
and he nails one joke, but it's him, so it's not funny anymore.
I think like
It's that kind of thing to me.
what do you think is like the right way for someone to do gore in a movie?
Realism, I guess, or if it's not a horror movie, then like, you know, the gore can be a thing of like comedy. Like you cut open an alien and just like more than the alien could have ever possibly had inside it comes out. You know, it I'm not against it being mocked. I'm against doing it and being like, wow, look how edgy. Like, the only place I've ever seen anything like that work and be like, wow, that's a little visceral, that's really weird, is in The Shining, where there's the elevator full of blood and it opens up and it pours out and it's like, holy shit, that's fucked up. But I'm pretty sure that no one's homaging, you know, The Shining whenever they got the pretty brunette girl in the Chainsaw movie and she bleeds out 30 gallons of blood.
Yeah.
And she's very skinny, but she just bled 30 gallons of blood. But what you're talking about is when people post like real people hurt or dead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's no good. But we're here to talk about media, so well, actually, you know what? I agree with you. I can't stand it either. It really like skeeves me out. I'm like, why did you look at these and think that was fun to share? How did you find them? What are you doing with your life? Or did you take these?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And then
it's like there was that guy on like 4chan who like
you would go
it was
to
like
4chan.
someone fucking guess whatever fucking thing and I'll post a picture of a dead body that I killed. And like it got to the point where like I think it was like 2 or 3 bodies and just like they never found out who it was.
Oh.
And it was just like Jesus
Holy
Christ.
shit.
Yeah.
So what I have found is there is multiple sources to find like morgue pictures or like post-mortem pictures for things like for like famous true crimes, like actual crimes. So that is again another thing I really have no interest in. It's one of those curiosities where it's like it's so morbid I can't even entertain it. Like I just don't have the heart or the stomach for that.
Yeah.
So I stick to reading, but yeah, no, I don't know. It weirds me out, but I have seen obviously pictures like that and just horror movies never do it right. Like I don't want them to, but whenever they go too over the top, that's when it becomes like, okay, you're kind of glorifying something you shouldn't be right now. And it's too much.
Yeah, like I think especially when you get to like a lot of the lower budget, just like cheap ones.
Yeah,
like
it's
Thanksgiving.
like, oh my god, he's just covered in ketchup.
It was like nice tits, bitch, and then
Yeah.
like stab.
Yeah.
It's just like this is stupid. We're like when it's like that amount of gore to where it's just like it's gory, but it's just like for the sake of being gory. Like there's nothing else redeemable.
Sometimes the best part is that like it'll be so like unbelievable. It like the effects will actually be so bad. You'll be like, that's not even gross because I can tell that's just like ketchup. Do you know? So you've seen Alien, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know when the android gets blown up, he just like turns into this whole like pool of like white and components.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite thing of that is if you pause it at any frame where he's like being rended apart, it is very clearly a dummy filled with God knows what. But then it'll switch over when he's been beheaded and he's talking because he's an android and he's talking through his disembodied head. You can tell that. I mean, you can absolutely tell that they like just tried to recreate the scene as closely as possible with the dummy, and it really is completely unbelievable. Like, even back in the 70s, I'll bet people were like, "Wow, not quite," because cinematography is hard, movies are hard, but you really could have just like, I don't know, you really could have just like not shown the thing land.
Yeah.
Because they show his head landing on the floor, and then they cut to the actor. Like, it's a hard cut to look just like the same scene, but it doesn't look the same. It's all fucked up. But anyway, yeah.
I don't know. It's like, okay, so we're talking about like gore.
Yeah.
All right.
We can talk about different aspects of horror movies as well if you want to.
Like, what is... I don't know.
I mean, like I said, that's the thing I like. Okay, so to clarify that whole conversation, that's what I like. Shit. That's what I like least about horror movies. It's not interesting to me to see shit like that. It's not even like, because a lot of people will watch horror movies to scare themselves or to shock themselves and just to like feel that rush of adrenaline. That doesn't do that for me.
Right.
It really is just like, if I see someone doing something really gross to a particularly intimate part of the body, like, fingernails or hands or someone's face or something like that, yeah, it'll skeeve me out, but it's not scary. That's just gross, and I don't want to look at it. I'm trying to eat or something, But what really gets me is whenever something is like psychological,
right?
Which we've already talked about. But does that get you at all? Does that really never like affect you, like for any amount of time?
Like psychological horror?
Yeah. Do you get scared by horror movies?
Not really.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm not trying to be like, oh, come on, just stop making me look like a 3-year-old here. But
well, it's because it's like, it's more so just like I watch them because I like I can't watch. I don't enjoy. There's some people who just can sit down and watch like a bad slasher movie.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, oh, it's a bad slasher or horror movie. I'm gonna enjoy this, whatever. I can't watch a movie unless it's like a good movie. So
the concept doesn't matter. The execution is. I mean, the concept does matter, but the execution has to match up in quality.
So there hasn't been like a movie to where it was just like, holy shit, like this is so scary. To where like there's been movies where like, Exorcist, Chainsaw Massacre, like all the other ones I like.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, this is a good movie. I like the movie, but never at one point was I just like, holy shit, I'm frightened. So
I remember my brother Kenny used to so we would go to our aunt's house and we would visit, and she would always put on movies. We saw Scream on there, and we were like, okay, well, let's watch Scream. And there's a girl who gets like hung, and they find her organs in a mailbox within the first probably about 10 minutes. And it's pretty heavy, I will admit. But I wasn't like, oh man, that freaks me out. I was like, I want to see where this goes, because this seems pretty fucking scary. I've liked horror and horror movies from a pretty early age. And my brother, it's upset him so much that he didn't want to watch it, which I don't blame him. But that's my first memory of like a scary movie that I was allowed to watch. But I didn't get to finish it because like there's only one TV. Kenny wanted to watch something else, and he just couldn't handle that. So yeah, I mean that's the first one I remember really, really scaring somebody. It's the first horror movie I remember actually like wanting to watch. I still haven't seen it to this day, actually.
Scream all the way through?
I've only seen that first 20 minutes. 15, 10, I don't know. Not very long.
It's okay. It's a good movie. It's decent.
It's about an 8 on the Akil scale.
I don't know. Because it's like, I can see why it got like famous.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it always seemed, because I always caught it, like I caught it after like Scary Movie came out.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, I can't, it's not
Can't
scary.
take it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too, because that spoofed a lot. Actually, you know what? We have ignored an entire sort of. It sort of goes back into the whole gore thing, but we've ignored an entire segment of the horror movie genre that has come to light recently. Torture porn.
Oh yeah.
And I know, I mean, we're not gonna fucking celebrate it. I know neither of us like it, but like the Saw movies and stuff like that. The scary movie franchise, or has there been more than one?
Scary movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's been more than one.
Mhm.
That franchise has spoofed, like that. It spoofed Saw
It spoofs,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. What's another series that's like that? I forget. Saw was the
Like,
big one.
of torture porn.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it basically what that.
what was the one? A Serbian film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would Human Centipede count?
Yeah, absolutely
Mhm.
would. Okay, so those kind of things. These are like basically what torture porn is it's like you. So when people are talking about like pornography, they'll be like, oh, you know, it's weird, but people will be like food porn, oh, earth porn, stuff like that. It's
This
like
is just like
incredibly
movies.
like
Just people
what's
being
the
like
word?
mutilated.
No. Well, hold on. Let me explain exactly what I mean. So, like, food porn refers to like incredibly like decadent. That was the word I was looking for.
Mhm.
Incredibly like decadent dishes and things that look just like really, really delicious and like picture perfect and stuff like that. Earth porn would be like looking at a beautiful vista or something like that, or like a picture of a canyon or an ocean that's just really, really gorgeous, and it's sort of like a once in a lifetime view. In that sense, torture porn is so like, can you think about like actual porn, like pornography, like sex porn? It's I know, right? Like sex porn. I had to elaborate. So like that's that because it's so gratuitous with the nudity and the contact that it's excessive. It's pornography. Torture porn is that, but with torture and pain and gore and it's not really horror. It's not scary. It's literally just cringy in kind of the best way. Because if it was cringy embarrassing, I wouldn't want to watch it. I mean, I don't want to watch it anyway because I'm just not into that genre of movie. But like, if it was just cringy embarrassing, no one would watch it. But it's like, it's disturbing in a way that like, oh man, I wouldn't want that to happen to me, or oh man, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. So, what did you ever watch any of those movies? I saw first one.
Saw
First
4. I know what happens in all of like Saw 1, but like I just know that like the first one it can be like is debatable where like that's a good film.
Yeah.
But like after that it just
like
got
pioneering a
more and
little bit.
more, yeah.
Well, they try and jump the
It
shark.
was more just like upping the stakes each time. Not upping
Yeah.
the stakes, but like upping just like the
Ju-
violence
Yeah.
like each time.
They're
because
trying to
that's-
jump the shark. They're trying to top what they've done before.
Because they got the reputation of just like, oh, this is the like
Brutal.
tear people apart movie
Yeah.
every year. Let's go see people be murdered.
What was that another? There's another one like called Final Destination. That was another thing.
Was that wasn't really torture porn?
No, but it was just like, wow, look at these people die in insanely like ridiculous ways.
Right, yeah.
But like that what you just said, like they got to top themselves over and over and over and
Oh,
over.
yeah, yeah.
Like because this is the tear people apart movie. Made me think of Human Centipede. Wasn't there 3 of them?
I think so, yeah.
I know of 2. I never saw any of them. But like the first one is like we're gonna do 3 people. Second one was like we're gonna do 12 people. And then Human Centipede 3, I never even heard about it. I just know that it exists. I believe that it exists. You have to believe in it if you really want it to come true. I believe that it exists, and for all I know, it's like okay, now we got everybody on the planet.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
attached ass to mouth. Like how what makes 15 more like scary than 12? Nothing. So you would literally have to go to those lengths.
It's just like the difference is the person in the audience. in the first movie is just like someone can justify being here to like, oh, it's this grotesque thing.
Yeah.
And then like anyone in the audience for the second one's just like, I just wanted to see more ass to mouth length. I just needed more.
If there
people.
was just more of them,
And
I
it's-
would like that.
Because
better.
there's nothing good you can say about just like the sequels to any.
No.
If it's a movie where it's just like, all right, you put this out because gore, or you
Yeah.
put this out because like provocative. You do a sequel, and it's like a lot of that like mystique is gone.
Yeah.
So now
there's
it's just
there's
like
no mystery.
So now it's just like, this is cash grab. We're gonna show you just like troubling like visuals.
Yeah. We're not saying that like gore or like shit like that doesn't bother us. It does, but it's like that's not what I'm fucking sitting around seeing a movie for. And it's kind of weird too, because like I said earlier, obviously I just don't have enough actual problems in my life. Because I'll go to a horror movie and I'll be like, I want this to psychologically fuck me up. Like that's the idea.
Because like with things like Human Centipede,
I'm actually disappointed when they don't. To be
right,
clear.
so
But, sorry, go ahead.
when
With
it's things like Human Centipede too,
hmm
I don't know why you couldn't just Google end result of Human Centipede 2 and just save some money, because that's what you're going to
yeah,
see.
no, you'd save yourself about $12. Yeah.
So it's just, I guess maybe I can relate sort of with the psychological thing, and just like I bought into this. I'm not saying like it scared me, but just like I can see how the people in the movie were like, this was a problem, and they all handled it like realistically enough to where like I saw real human
Yeah.
depth in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the scariest thing about Human Centipede 2 and 3 is looking at your bank statement later and realizing
yeah.
it wasn't just a bad dream that you paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
You paid for that shit.
Yeah, I
to
paid.
watch it. No, man, I don't really subscribe to movies like that. I just really don't care for shit like that.
No.
They're good for just about nothing. They're not useful culturally. They're not like psychologically damaging or scary. I say damaging. No movie you watch should be damaging. Otherwise, that also is a bad movie. But like,
It's The Ring.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't. Yeah, like if you watch this movie, someone's gonna
it
crawl out of your
hurts you.
TV in 3 or 4 days, and it's gonna fucking break your knees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no good. But I like scary movies, but they have to scare me like the right way. I like, because gore seems like a shortcut. Like, sewing people ass to mouth seems like a shortcut.
I mean, the only way, like, I'm okay with gore if it's just like there's a threat, whatever threat it is. It's just like, this is the thing you're supposed to fear in the movie.
Yeah.
It demonstrates its ability like early on, and then it's this thing to where like, all right, this isn't gory, but like the episode of The Twilight Zone where the kid, if you weren't happy or thought happy thoughts, he sends you to the cornfield. It's just like, you can see that they can do this, and then the rest of the movie is just like everyone's aware of like, this thing can do something fucked up to you. Don't let it do it to you. And then
Was there a Twilight Zone movie?
yeah,
I
the
didn't-
main actor and like 2 kids died when like a helicopter fell and cut their heads off during the filming.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, shit.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say. That was actually shocking. That was, oh my god.
Mm.
Damn. Go on with what you were
So,
saying.
it's just like something demonstrates just like this fucked up thing it can do. Or
Yeah.
like there's a lot of gore early on, or just like this person has no qualms of just like gorily murdering someone.
Yeah.
So every time you have that thing in a scene from there on out, it's just like, is this gonna happen? And then like I'm more of a fan of just like saving it until just like the time is right.
Yeah.
And like you build it up.
There's I remember what I was gonna say. So basically, like there's you mentioned corn, and I'm sorry, this is what I took away from what you just said, but I agree with you. The setup is very important with like establishing a horror film, which is why Children of the Corn and Rosemary's Baby, which I brought up earlier, both suck to me. Like they're fine classic horror movies. They set up a lot of tropes that are important to horror cinematography today, and storytelling today, but they are boring.
I wanted to be more afraid after watching Children of the Corn. I wasn't afraid enough.
I'm not afraid of 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Still,
It was just
you
like,
can't convince
oh
me to be afraid of
shit.
10-year-olds.
Like, oh shit, kids took over a town? Are you
Yeah.
serious?
And it really, how did they do that?
It was just like, I guess it was just like a town full of like old people.
I
Like,
mean, but these are kids.
I know.
There's got to be a middle generation.
I mean, some of the kids were pretty big. It was a corn-fed city. It was just a bunch of kids who grew up eating like heavy farm food.
Yeah.
So.
There was one movie actually that I expected to scare me more, but it didn't, and it was still a good movie. It was a pretty good metaphor, and you wouldn't think so from the from the title, but it's the Bye Bye Man. No, I'm just kidding. No, not that. I didn't actually see that. I don't know if it's any good or not. Probably not. I don't even know if it's out yet. Anyway, I've distracted myself. The Babadook.
I've heard of it. Whereas like the kid's son, I mean, what? The mom's son.
It's a child.
Yeah.
It's Rosemary's Baby's
Right.
baby.
The mom's son is like unlucky or something. And like there's this thing called the Babadook, like a top hat and some
No,
shit.
not unlucky. If I could, she's like depressed because I think her husband passed away. It's been a little bit since I've seen it. We never reference shit that we know all about.
Yeah.
Her husband passed away or something like that, and she's a single mother now. And basically the kid is having behavioral issues, and she's like, "It's cool, I can handle it. It's all right." And slowly, like, the Babadook, like, gets at her more. Like, it disturbs her a little more. And it's basically this creature. It's a thinly veiled
Boogeyman?
metaphor for depression.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's basically like an anxiety and just being sad and all bad thoughts in general. But
So you liked it or you didn't?
I did like it. It was
Okay.
actually good because it was a good metaphor and the story was all right. But
Okay.
basically, she gets this book and reads the story, and the kid reads it, freaks out, and then they think that is the cause of his psychological problems from then on. It turns out it's real, and he keeps seeing it, and the mother eventually gets possessed by it, and it's a whole thing. And basically, the Babadook embodies her depression. And at the end of the movie, you expect it to wrap up in a nice, neat little bow tie, but it doesn't because they have to keep it in their basement. Like how whenever you were fighting depression, you're always fighting depression. It doesn't end. There's no like on-off switch for that shit that you take a pill and it's over. So she keeps the monster in her basement and she manages it instead, which somehow didn't make it any less intimidating. And the character design was all right. It was a little bit, weird, but it wasn't really like the visual elements. It was more the storytelling in that one.
Yeah.
So in short, I get what you're saying when it comes to like storytelling is very important to you in scary movies.
Like I like It Follows a lot.
What is that?
Alright, so it's this like demon to where it wants to murder people who have had sex with someone who is possessed by whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. So like the movie begins more or less with like this girl meets this dude, hooks up with him, and then the demon follows her now.
Yeah.
It can only slowly walk to get you, but like it's always coming.
Yeah.
And like you can run from it, but just like if you're just anywhere for an extended amount of time, it's just living with the knowledge where like it's coming.
Yeah.
Unless you can like have sex with someone else and pass it on to them. But like if it kills them, it goes back to you.
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you know?
You don't know who it is. You don't know.
No, how do you know if it's going to come back to you?
Oh, because like he passed it on to someone and then they died.
Yeah, but how do you know?
It kills them like it's really not, what's the word?
Public?
Yeah, it's very bloody when it gets you. Like the movie opens with like this girl being chased.
Yeah.
And then no one helps her. And then I think it shows her corpse where like her legs like snapped in some weird way or whatever. So just like, and then you see just like there's something following me again.
Yeah.
Or you get like a feeling of just like something.
Oh, okay. So it's a psychological thing.
Mhm.
Okay. That reminds me of there was something there's a Tumblr post, I think it was, there's a blog I follow that called Sixpence with like 3 or 4 E's at the end, 3 E's at the end. That is literally just like horror stories, and I would go on there and read it pretty often. And I looked at one of these stories, and it was basically like that. It's like the more people you pass the story on to. There's this kid. He's like, look, I have to tell somebody, or it's gonna kill me. And the more people I tell, the more,
things
the more people I tell, the less gruesome my death will be.
Oh, okay.
So this kid tells this girl who is the protagonist in the story, and she's like, oh, whatever, man, you're just, are you all right? You need to like calm down and fucking get a hold of yourself. And the next morning he's dead. His eyes are like gone. He's all fucked up and whatever. And she's like, oh my God. And now she believes in it, and the power is from belief. And so basically, now that he's dead, she has no choice but to believe in it. And she's like, I don't know what to do. So she tells this story, and at the very end, it actually is kind of the reason I remember this, because the audience interaction portion. She's like, so in order to secure myself the least gruesome death, I've chosen to upload this story onto Tumblr.com, and I'm so sorry. And then it ends. That's it. Yeah, that's it. And I was like, holy shit. Fuck, I'm fucked. I'm so fucked. Because, tens of thousands of people get on that fucking website, like, at all times. Like, it was like 1 a.m. when I read that. And I was like, there's like 300 other people reading this right now. That's fucked up to me. So I think shit like that's really interesting, especially when it's like, the audience can reflect in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you like share that post, like you like and share it to your own blog, people will read it and they'll be like, God damn it, Jerry.
Yeah.
Why would you fucking do that?
Right, yeah.
Asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that horror is a very interesting thing. It everybody's got preferences. It affects everybody differently. Some people cannot handle it at all, and I think that's really, really fascinating. But you got anything to conclude on? Don't say no. Oh God, body snatching.
No.
Don't say no.
Okay. No, it was just like a really interesting. It's just like, that's the interesting thing about horror movies, and I think that's what's so great about them, is that they're relatively cheap to make.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, so many people have just like different things that they're afraid of, or just like horror content or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like, I guess movies specifically, because they are cheaper to make compared to other ones. But things like that Tumblr post, that's free.
Yeah.
That's like, well, $19.99 a month, whatever your internet is.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and it can have this, like you said, some kind of effect on somebody, to where it's just like
I'm obviously not scared of that thing.
Yeah.
Just to clarify to anybody.
Yeah.
But
it's like,
it's an interesting concept.
It's
it
like,
was actually fascinating.
It's like how some people think that like laughter is like it's just psychological responses to things.
Yeah.
To where like fear is the same. You have the same. The amygdala in your brain is what's responsible for like fear and like aggression and things. When you can read something or like take in something that makes your brain start firing off, just like your fight or flight, whatever. It's cool in that there are some people that are into like the torture porn, there are into like your jump scares.
Yeah.
And however someone wants to get their little like kicks, their little jammies off. Someone's out there making.
That was the most condescending shit I've ever heard.
Someone out there is making content for them. And
Yeah.
that's what makes horror so great.
Is because it's so diverse.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Scary movies are scary.
They are.
Kids. So
watch a lot of them.
Watch a lot of them and become completely numb like we have.
Yeah.
All right. That'll be it for this week for the Less Worse podcast. My name is Jerry.
My name's Akil.
And thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.